And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, on this Friday, the 19th of August, and it's wonderful to have your company. Of course, today we're going to be talking about all our latest news, and then we have our daily India report, and finishing up with our functions and events that are taking place right here in Brisbane. Well, as we know, today is Friday, and of course, Brisbane is looking amazing today. Once again, 40 degrees and remaining sunny throughout the day. And as I mentioned before, that it is always good to see you all and have your company. But today being a very, very special day, this Friday, and looking amazingly beautiful out there. I would like to once again welcome you all to the show. And as we mentioned before, that today we will be looking at all the news update. And after the news update, we will also be looking at our daily India report. First of all, here's a message from our sponsors. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. And right now, we'll go on to the news for today. And as I said before, that today we'll be looking at many of the local news. And then we will also be going on and looking at what else is happening out there. So Friday, and it is looking like an amazing Friday because there's so much else that we'll be talking about, and of course we'll look at all the functions and events taking place. And I must also thank Ken Gilly yesterday for a very, very successful the world premiere of Marry Me Maybe, and what a wonderful production. Australian Indian Radio and Brisbane Indian Times are proud to be supporting that. Well, first of all, with the news, let's go to Adelaide.
A driving force in the fight for a free car park. Cleaners, orderlies, sterilisation technicians and catering staff from Adelaide's metro hospitals will again strike tomorrow over the state government's decision to bring back parking fees for hospital staff.
That is just devastating, and it's devastating to all the workers that work there.
Liz Kimber has been working in the catering department at the Lyell McEwin Hospital for almost 25 years. She and her colleagues earn between $45,000 and $52,000 a year, $1,300 of which will now go to parking.
Mortgage, rents and everything else has gone up, and they're just struggling. We are fortnightly to fortnightly workers who live on that wage.
Our members are critically important to the operation of SA Health. They are dedicated and have worked throughout the COVID pandemic.
Nurses were set to join tomorrow's protest but pulled out after the Premier promised to hammer out compensation in the nurses' new pay deal within weeks.
It would be disingenuous for us to continue participation given that we do actually have a pathway to pursue this issue with the government.
The free parking for staff at Adelaide hospitals ended in July when the emergency management imposed during the COVID crisis expired.
The challenge here is that we're dealing with something that was brought in as an extraordinary provision and one that was always going to come to an end. It has duly come to an end.
If the parking fees aren't lifted, both unions say they'll take further action. Sarah Mullins, ABC News, Adelaide.
And of course, more industrial action would be taken, and we just hope to see that if they can bring that conversation to the table and sort something out, because it is not a very, very good thing here. Well, right now, as we talked about yesterday at the housing market, so, what has been happening out there in that scene as well. But right now, there is a volunteer shortage affecting the most vulnerable.
Barbara Searle's eyesight is impaired by glaucoma. She lives independently using specialised equipment and uses Mildura charity's Sun Assist for just about everything she does outside the house.
The importance of the help is almost beyond words. They're my lifeline.
Sun Assist means more to Barbara than just transport.
You are not part of society without it.
Demand for Sun Assist services is booming. More than 5,000 regional Victorians use it for Meals on Wheels, transport to medical appointments or disability-supported employment. But the pandemic hit hard. Volunteer numbers have halved and now costs are growing, forcing Sun Assist to reduce trips for people with disability to focus more on medical transport.
Hardest decision I've had to make in my 11 years with the organisation, to make some cutbacks and start putting some limits on things.
The rising costs are having an impact right across the state.
Because you can't walk too far with all those complexities.
Melbourne transport charity Eastern Volunteers needs at least 40 more drivers. It's calling on the state government to increase funding in line with other states.
It's disappointing at times that we have to reduce what we do because we physically don't have the manpower to deliver those services.
Please think about becoming part of something like this. It's rewarding for you and it's very important to us.
The state government says it's launched a 5-year action plan and grants programs to increase Victoria's volunteer pool. Bension Siebert, ABC News.
In the classroom at Christie Downs Primary School, students are called to lunch in a unique way.
We have music and we usually have a song instead of like a ringing sound, so it's kind of a bit more better, it's a bit more fun, especially it won't like trigger anything.
The move to scrap the traditional bell has helped many students with additional needs, like 9-year-old Eileen Clark. After struggling at her 2 previous schools, the Year 4 student who has autism and dyslexia has finally found a place where she can learn and thrive.
It's been absolutely amazing. I well up. She wants to come to school. She's pretty much not selectively mute at the moment at all.
In this Year 2 and 3 class, 11 of the 18 children have learning difficulties. But with additional support, training and resources, teacher Alex McGrath has seen great outcomes.
We've got such a harmonious class and the children all support each other, they lift each other up, and they don't really see the difference. To them, this is just the normal, this is just the way people are.
The plan is for more public schools to transition into this form of inclusive learning. From next week, South Australian teachers will operate under a new set of guidelines, similar to those in place in some other states. Next year, there will be a specialised autism teacher at every public primary school.
I hope other states look to us and think, wow, this is an incredible difference that they're making, because everyone deserves to be able to reach their individual potentials.
If it's a success, the new teaching roles could be expanded to high schools. Sarah Mullins, ABC News.
And Sarah, that is wonderful news. Well, right now, another good news is there's a program that is going to give Indigenous musicians a space to create their music and showcase their creativity.
My name is Jungaji. I'm a traditional man from Far North Queensland. I sing a language. I've been learning language for the last 15 years. It's rewarding in so many ways when you can go to a community festival and people just respond in a manner like, hey brother, well, we don't really understand what you're saying, but we felt you.
Jungaji is one of 8 Indigenous musicians who have travelled from across the country to participate in the ANU's Space to Create program.
I've been working on my first EP with my original music. It's been just such an incredible space to be in.
But it's really about them and what they want to do, and them having that space to create, away from all the other pressures of life.
This pilot program is aimed at mid-career and established Indigenous artists.
As a community grassroots First Nations musician, we don't get to access these types of environments.
Definitely sparking a lot of the creativity again, and just to be back doing gigs and travelling around again.
The goal is for these artists to have this blossoming, creating projects, and also the confidence to continue with their music careers.
And there are high hopes for the projects already underway.
It's still infancy stages, but what it looks like on the other side, that's the exciting part.
People are coming into our space, and that's what it's about. And our stories are being told by our voices.
Music to the ears of those bringing together their passion and culture. Emma Thompson, ABC News, Canberra.
And music to the ears, isn't that wonderful? As I mentioned, that last night was the world premiere of Marry Me Maybe. And what a wonderful musical, in a way, it looks at the cross-cultural scenarios. So, there's a Taiwanese young fella who is a student, and he falls in love with a teacher of Indian origin from a Hindu family. So, how does that bring all the types of conflicts? And the parents are already arranging their marriages. It's very well put together. So last night was a VIP premiere. Tonight it launches, and it's a must-see. If you haven't got your tickets, to go out and see that Marry Me Maybe. And Australian Indian Radio and Brisbane Indian Times is proud to be supporting that. And it was a wonderful event last night at the world premiere. Well, right now, it's time to go to our daily India report.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you reports, interviews, features and more on India and the Indian diaspora. The Government of India has decided that non-locals in the Jammu and Kashmir territory will also get voting rights. This decision was met with sharp reactions from opposition leaders. In a major decision, Jammu and Kashmir's Chief Electoral Officer Hirdesh Kumar announced that non-locals, including employees, students, labourers and anyone from outside who is living ordinarily in Jammu and Kashmir can register their names in the voting list and vote in the Jammu and Kashmir elections. He said that the requirement of domicile is not necessary for outsiders to get enlisted as voters. He has also said that armed forces personnel from other states who are posted at peace stations in Jammu and Kashmir can also get their names added to the voter list. While addressing the CEOs, the CEC emphasized increasing voter percentage, reaching the last voter and improvising voter facilitation. CEC urged the officers to map low voter turnout polling stations and focus on them in a targeted manner. Data from previous elections will be used to map polling stations with low voter turnout, and priority will be given to increasing their voter turnout. After major confusion and deliberations, the Indian Home Ministry clarified that there have been no directions to provide flats to Rohingya refugees residing in the national capital of Delhi. India's Union Home Ministry on 17th August said it has not issued directions to shift Rohingya refugees to flats in an outer Delhi locality, contradicting Union Urban Development Affairs Minister Hardeep Singh Puri. Minister Puri eventually backtracked after having first termed the plan to move the migrants to better facilities a landmark decision. Shortly after Puri's tweet, the Ministry of Home Affairs said in a statement that all reports pertaining to the rehabilitation of Rohingya communities are false. The controversy stems from what seemed to be at least an attempt to resettle some of the refugees temporarily. According to the minutes of a meeting reportedly chaired by Chief Secretary Naresh Kumar on July 29th, a decision was taken by the Home Department to shift the refugees to a tenement for poor families in Bakarwala area in outer Delhi. The MHA appeared to scrap the move, saying that illegal foreigners will be kept in detention centres till their deportation. The ruling Aam Aadmi Party in New Delhi said the elected government was not involved in the decision and directed blame at Lieutenant Governor Vinay Kumar Saxena and the Chief Secretary. As COVID-19 cases rise in India, the CEO of the Serum Institute of India has hinted at manufacturing an Omicron-specific vaccine in another month. This will be in collaboration with Novavax. Amid a rise in COVID-19 cases in India, especially of the Omicron variant, the Serum Institute of India in collaboration with Novavax is working on a vaccine specific to the subvariant of Omicron. Several media reports mention that Adar Poonawalla, CEO of the Serum Institute of India, said, quote, "The BA.5 variant is spreading quite a bit globally. There are many cases in India as well. We are working on a BA.5 variant specific vaccine with Novavax at the moment," end quote. Poonawalla informed that the trials of the BA.5 Omicron-specific vaccine are currently underway in Australia. Probably by November-December, the company should be in a position to apply to US FDA, the drug regulator. Indian National Security Advisor Ajit Doval paid an unannounced visit to Moscow and met his counterpart Nikolai Patrushev on 17th August. They will assess progress on bilateral relations with Russia. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval on 17th August held talks with his Russian counterpart Nikolai Patrushev in Moscow, focusing on bilateral, regional and global issues. Both sides discussed issues relating to bilateral cooperation in the areas of security as well as topical issues on the regional and international agenda. India has not yet condemned the Russian invasion of Ukraine. India has maintained that the crisis must be resolved through diplomacy and dialogue. In the last few months, India has also increased the import of discounted crude oil from Russia, notwithstanding increasing disquiet over it by several Western powers. India's crude oil imports from Russia have jumped over 50 times since April, now at 10% of all crude bought from overseas. In July 2022, Russian ambassador to India, Denis Alipov, said that Russia appreciated India for not supporting attempts to isolate it in multilateral fora, and bilateral trade between the two countries is on an upswing. India has also been in touch with several leading powers, including Russia, on the current situation in Afghanistan. India and Thailand have signed 2 MOUs at the ongoing Joint Commission bilateral meeting. The MOUs cover cooperation in health and media. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held productive meetings with his Thailand counterpart Don Pramudwinai on 17th August and discussed advancing bilateral contracts in political, economic, security and defence, connectivity and health domains. The Indian and Thailand ministers co-chaired the 9th India-Thailand Joint Commission meeting. Notably, Pramudwinai is also the Southeast Asian country's Deputy Prime Minister. The Indian minister also discussed the situation in Myanmar and shared India's perspectives on the Indo-Pacific amid China flexing muscles in the strategic region. After the meeting, the two sides inked 2 memorandum of understandings, the MOU on health and medical research cooperation and the MOU for cooperation and collaboration on broadcasting between the Prasar Bharati and the Thai Public Broadcasting Service. Thailand is a partner to India not only in ASEAN but other organizations like the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation and Mekong Ganga.
That's about all we have for you in this segment today. And today is a very special day, being the Krishna Janmashtami. So, I'd like to wish everyone who celebrate all the very best for this very, very special day. And right now we'll go and have a look at what is the significance of Krishna Janmashtami. So yes, today is Krishna Janmashtami, and Janmashtami is a celebration of birth of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna was born on the 8th day of Krishna Paksh in the month of Bhadav and Noidi Rakshatra, which happens to be today. 5,000 years ago, on 28th year of Dwapar Yuga, Lord Sri Krishna was born in Mathura at midnight of the Ashtami Tithi in Krishna Paksh of Sawan month, as per Hindu calendar, which is August to September. The day is marked with celebrations that bring joy, happiness, spirituality, and games resembling mischievous pranks of Lord Krishna in his childhood. The day of Lord Krishna is celebrated as Janmashtami, and in Gokulastham, Sri Jayanti, the Handi, Thala, Rasila, and various parts of India. This year falls on the legend of Janmashtami. How did it all begin? Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bharatiya bharata aswathamo tadastume sriva bhavami. Meaning, whenever there is a need for righteousness, a sloka taken from Bhagavad Gita where Sri Krishna been addressing Arjuna says, whenever there is a decay of righteousness, O Bharata, and rise of unrighteousness, I will manifest myself, and so he did. As mentioned in this sloka, and also according to the legends, the birth of Lord Krishna took place under extraordinary circumstances. He was an incarnation of Lord Vishnu who came into the world to get rid of evil demons. Sri Krishna was born at midnight, stroke of the dark, rainy night, to Devaki and Vasudeva, who was departed by Devaki's brother Kansa. It has been foretold that the 8th son of Devaki and the evil king Kansa, upon hearing these prophecies, Kansa had his sister put in prison. He killed 7 children, one by one. But when Krishna was born, there was guards fallen into deep slumber and were unable to inform their master about the newborn child. A heavenly voice commanded Vasudeva to take the baby to Gokul in exchange for the newborn baby. And the shackles of the prison gates were miraculously opened, and Vasudeva carried the child in a small basket through the waters of Yamuna. It was a dark, stormy night, and the waters of Yamuna was raging, but parted to let the carrier cross. A huge snake known as Adisesa, with 2,000 hoods, guided them. Its hood formed a protective canopy over the child. When Vasudeva returned back to Nanda's child, fastened the doors, and the guards awakened, Kansa came and picked up the child to kill it against the wall. But somehow the baby slipped from his grasp and took form of goddess, laughing at Kansa. The little boy Krishna was also heartfelt of Gokul, a mischievous prankster who was favorite amongst the gopis. He used to steal the curd and butter from the houses of gopikas. The lotus feet of Lord will shower each devotee with immense happiness and good health. So join in the hands to say Krishna Krishna on the day of his birth. So ladies and gentlemen, that day happens to be today, and that's, of course, we know Krishna Janmashtami will be celebrated throughout Brisbane today at ISKCON Centre, Sri Vishnu Maya Mandir, at the Hindu Society of Queensland, Gayatri Mandir, Sanatan Dharma Association, Lakshmi Narayan Temple, and many other locations. So on this very auspicious occasion, we too, from Australian Indian Radio and Brisbane Indian Times, for those who are celebrating, we'd like to wish everyone all the very best for Krishna Janmashtami. And of course, as we always mention, that may the good prevail over bad, and that whenever there is a need for righteousness to be reset, Lord manifests himself in many ways to come and clear that and look after the goodwill of the many good people. So today, at the midnight, will be the Krishna Janmashtami at some of the locations, but other locations will celebrate that earlier, taking into account that, right here in Australia, then again also people need to get home and all other things. So taking everything into account. But we know that Hare Rama Hare Krishna at ISKCON, they will celebrate that on the dot, the Janam will take place at midnight. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's been wonderful having your company. Now, just before we close up for today, let's take a look at some of the functions and events taking place right here in Brisbane.